So I wanted to do a video about scat singing, and scat singing is something that I do quite frequently. If you know my music, it's something that I do in practically every song, and people come to expect as part of our musical identity, as our brand, as it were. Is something that I first encountered in high school as the drummer in my school's jazz choir, and that's where I was really exposed to the techniques and some of the greats like Al Jarreau, Ella Fitzgerald, Clark Terry, Bobby McFerrin, and many more. And that's also about the point at which I sort of co-opted some of those ideas, those techniques, and started dabbling with them in my own rock music separately. So what I want to do in this video is look at some of those early examples, talk a little bit about some getting started tricks, and then some guiding principles and tips for improvisation in general, since many vocalists are not very experienced with improvisation. And then look at listen to a couple of recent examples of mine that were completely improvised, and point out some places where I'm making use of those same tips, those same guiding principles. So without further ado, let's dig into it. So first, let's talk about confidence and commitment. So I think that the biggest initial obstacle to people who want to start scatting is getting over that hump of thinking that it's embarrassing or that it's silly. You have to just recognize this is a thing, and this is a technique that's been alive and well in jazz for a long time and will continue to be so. And there's great people who've come before you doing this, and great people who continue to work in it. And just join the club and let yourself be part of it. So with that in mind, I want to listen to the first clip that I have, which is it's the first time that I ever scatted on an album, and it is a place where I think in listening to it you can hear that I am hesitant, that I'm not fully confident or committed, and that hesitation just really shines through and manifests as a general lack of passion and some fuzziness on the rhythm and the dynamics, and everything's a little bit flatly affected, a little bit tepid, and frankly a little boring. So let's listen to this song. There's many things that are not very polished about this song, but let's pay specific attention to this scat and how it is neither committed nor confident in its performance. So then contrast that with just a year later, and you can hear in this, simple as this idea is, I'm singing it confidently and I'm committed to it, and what a difference even that little bit makes. My skill hasn't changed much, but my confidence and commitment definitely has, and this is a much better scat for it. So before we go much further on scatting, let's take a moment and just talk about improvisation in general, because as I mentioned, for many singers, this is the first time that they've ever really had to improvise a solo if they're not also a lead guitar player or some other instrument that takes solos in their band, and that's not uncommon. So while there are no rules to improvisation, and anything at some level, anything goes, here are a few kind of general guidelines or tips that you can use if you're struggling to kind of ground yourself and approach this more systematically. And so I'd say the first and most important of these is take your time. Don't be afraid to breathe. Don't be afraid to to not start right away. There's some real power and a sort of subtle psychology to not playing something right from the get-go, not starting full throttle. You don't have to be busy the whole time. You do want to at least consider having peaks and valleys. It's a good choice to pause. But the subtle psychology of not playing right away is it sends the message to the rest of the band that they need to back off for a minute, and everyone bring things down. And the good thing about that is it gives you some room to build. And so I would really recommend, and I'll try to put a link up in the corner, I would recommend listening to, there's a solo that's going around right now, really popular, it has like 37 million views or whatever, from Snarky Puppy, Lingus, We Like It Here, where a great keyboard player, Corey Henry, really masterfully demonstrates that sort of technique of starting slow and letting some momentum build from his own ideas rather than from the expectation of momentum. So beyond starting slow, another thing that you can try, if nothing's coming to you right away, is a theme and variations approach. And by this, what I mean is that you're going to take some small snippet, and it could be a piece of the original melody, or it could be some sort of counter melody that you heard in the guitar, or some other thing, and just make a statement of that one small idea. Then you want to do a variation. Now sing that statement again, but mix it up a little bit, twist it a little, omit some notes, change a note, go a little higher at some peak point in that melody, alter the rhythm, whatever twist you think of off the top of your head. And it's just a small twist, doesn't need to be a giant maneuver. And then do it again and twist it a different way and repeat. And then as it comes to you, look for something that we would call an answer. Look for an opportunity to state a new idea that complements or answers the first that you had, and vary that one as well if you like. And then very closely related to this is sort of the third idea, which is more about the source of something or having a conversation. So look for opportunities to engage in some call and response. Especially, this is more appropriate if you're in a band, where, for instance, in my band, I'll be listening for Gene, our lead guitarist, to start applying some counterpoint or some counter subject to things I'm scatting, and then I will go ahead and copy that and start varying that, and then he in turn will pick up on my variation and answer that with something new. Having those kind of musical conversations is a really rich way to improvise, and a really rich way to get involved as a vocalist beyond delivering the preordained text and melody of the song. So now that we've talked a little bit about some hints about improvisation, let's take a listen to a couple of scats of mine. One is a song called Get You Dirty, and another is called Ellen. These are both songs that I recently dusted off from one context to another and was trying to record a quick demo, and did a scat completely off the top of my head without any roadmap or preparation or planning, just completely improvised. And so that's why I want to look at these two in particular. So I'll just put some text over the top of the video as I go through, pointing out where I'm making use of some of the techniques I've talked about, as well as a couple others I haven't talked about yet. So let me name those. I'll be using some sequential phrasing. I'll be using some polyrhythms and some phrasing over the bar as slightly more sophisticated or trickier methods of variation. So without further ado, let's take a look at Get You Dirty and then Ellen.
This light so bright, It's late, now gonna get up early before I sleep. Gonna get you dirty.
All right, well, thanks for listening this far, and hopefully that was helpful or informative if you're interested in scat singing or in improvisation in general. If you are a scat singer or improviser and have some other tips or techniques that I didn't think to mention, please drop them in the comments, because we all can learn something new. I can learn something new. Otherwise, have a good one. Thanks for hanging out with me, and everybody stay safe. If you're interested in scatting or just interested in knowing about it,